It wasn't always my dream, but it kind of worked out that way.
Yeah, I want to build this up for, for the rest of my life. Like, this is what I want to do.
Yeah, I never say no, basically.
Yeah, like right now, for example, isn't as good of a market to be a realtor as it was like, 3 years ago. I'm sure I don't have to tell you that, right?
Yeah, because some people will look at it as an investment and other people will look at it as more of an emotional purchase.
We've gone on some repairs where it ends up turning into one of our biggest accounts. It's like some realtor and they have this property management firm and you end up moving into something, right?
You don't necessarily want the cheapest or the fastest or whatever it is. You want someone who knows the technique of how to do the job. You have to have your 3D model walkthrough and you have to have your videos.
Right. Like in the real estate industry, what changes do you see on the horizon? Okay, so welcome everybody to the Trust Business Podcast. Today I have a very special guest, Tiffany Novitsky, local realtor in the area. Oh my goodness, Tiffany is amazing. I've worked with her many times. You actually just helped me purchase a property, and I saw firsthand kind of how you work and how you are. So thank you so much for being a guest. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. You're welcome. I'm happy to be here and I'm honored to be here.
Awesome, awesome. Oh my goodness. Okay, yeah. So like I said, you just helped me with a real estate transaction. And we like to talk about business on this, talk about, what kind of differentiates ourselves. Because for example, I do roofs. There are so many different people who do roofs and you do real estate. There are thousands and thousands of realtors in Pinellas County and in the Bay Area. So what for you, do you feel like you do that differentiates yourself? Because I know a lot of things because I just worked with you, but talk to the audience. Like, what do you do to differentiate yourself in that field that's so competitive?
Okay. So yes, there are a lot of realtors in this area, and I personally know probably 50 to 100 realtors as friends or people that I've worked with in the past. So I know that everyone that I know also knows many realtors. So I definitely have to do something to stand out and to make myself competitive so that I can actually earn their business. And I take it very personally. I haven't always this wasn't, when I was 5 years old, I didn't wish, I want to be a realtor. It wasn't always my dream, but it kind of worked out that way.
Yeah.
And everything that I've done up to that point of becoming a real estate agent was in the land of service. And I always had a function of servicing people or putting things there, establishing things, helping people to learn or to do their own jobs better, things like that. And I take all of that background and I put it into my job as a realtor. I've always had a very tight core ethics and values that I've grown up with. And I also take that with me in my job.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's very important. And taking this job seriously and doing it as a professional, which a lot of realtors are not full-time realtors.
Yeah.
Some of them are 50-50. Some of them, think it's just like an easy thing of just doing little bits here and there, and then I'll get something done. But I take it really as a career, and I've kind of been like, I have to create every aspect of it. In order for me to get anything done, I have to, put everything there, the full spectrum of jobs, like from start to finish. It's all me.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that. Treating it as a career, treating it as as something, it's professional, it's something you do. It's the same thing that I have tried to do with roofing, right? Is take every single bit of it as seriously as possible. And, just down to I remember when I got my first office, just doing that and getting really serious about roofing as a business. This isn't just something that, I'm going to do for now and then, oh no, who knows? No, this is my career. This is what I want to build this up for, the rest of my life. This is what I want to do. And when you start treating something like that, rather than just I don't know, maybe I'll be doing something else in 3 or 4 years, it really changes the way that you approach everything, I would say.
Yeah.
So
your client relationship is much different too, because you want them to be your client for a lifetime.
Yeah. And in 4 years, you're probably still going to be in that same career, right? Working in that field. So you want them to be happy and come back to you. So I like that. I like that. Talk to me about what other, what mindsets for you are the most key to your success? Because I know, I don't know you that well, but I know you're a very successful realtor. You do a lot of, I see you do some very high-end homes, some large homes for clients, which is a particular, clientele you have to work with. What are some mindsets that help you earn business from those kind of clients and stay so busy, year round? Because also one thing that happens to realtors is the market will change. Right now, for example, isn't as good of a market to be a realtor as it was 3 years ago. I'm sure I don't have to tell you that, right?
Yeah.
But what are some mindsets that you kind of utilize so that that doesn't happen to you and you're always busy year round and doing your thing?
I would say the biggest thing is really working for my client. I don't just get a listing and put it up and then sit and wait. I know that I have a whole program of actions that I have to do to get that property sold, to negotiate contracts, and to then push it through to the end and get it, turned over properly so it's a done deal.
Yeah.
And I don't think that everyone really understands all of those pieces that go into that, or they don't maybe give it as much value or give it as much as it should. So anyways, I feel like putting all of that into each real estate transaction really makes a big difference. And I have seen, I've gotten listings from other clients, or I've gotten buyers, because they can see that I am very diligent and I do work hard for them, and I do put in the time and the energy and everything to get the job done. And I think that that's something that people can just see.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, again, I just worked with you, and I could see like there would be, for example, I don't know, I needed to see the house for like a final walk or something. And like my schedule only allowed me, because I'm busy running the business. Like I think it was 6 or 6:30 that day. And I just told you, and I don't know, whatever you did on your side, you were just like, boom, boom, boom. You're like, yep, I can make it work. Or maybe you told me 15 minutes after, you changed it a little bit, but you're always very flexible and very like just able to make it work for me. And that's one thing that I see and that I'm working on with my team in my industry a lot, is just being client centric and having urgency in regards to that. Like, you can be client centric, but maybe you don't have the urgency, and they say something and you're just like, oh, well, my calendar's booked during that time, so whatever, rather than like, okay, well, maybe is there something I can do? Oh, well, maybe my assistant can deal with that and then I can do that, or maybe I can do that and my assistant can, or whatever the thing is, maybe I can move that up and I can still make that work for that client, or maybe I can do it 30 minutes later. And just having that viewpoint of urgency to figure it out for your client, that immediately just changes everything around in terms of how your client perceives you, how well you're servicing them, and these kind of things. So I totally agree.
Yeah, I never say no, basically.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
If someone says, can you show me this house, and it's right at time when I have to pick up my kids, it's like, yes, I will get it. I will make it happen.
Oh my gosh.
Because I've seen it where you say no, or someone says no, and you're never going to go back.
Yeah.
The buyer's never going to go back to that house, because they have a list of 10 houses they're going to see. And if yours isn't on that list, they don't make it because you couldn't be there to show it. They're going to make a choice based on the other 9 houses they saw.
Right.
So unless it's very, very maybe specific instances where that's the one house that they want to see, they'll reschedule with you. But I never say no. It's always, I will turn my schedule whichever way I have to be where I need to be to service those people.
And I like that. And there's a lot of, I'm similar. Like I try to lean more into like, yes. And there's a lot of people who are like, no, no, because you got to like have your boundaries. You got to have all the you time and all this. And I get that. I get where they're coming from. And trust me, I have that too. Like there's weekends where I just go, that's my weekend. I'm doing this that weekend, or I'm going to do this trip these 3 days. And I'm just going to kind of mostly shut off and move it over to my team. So I still do that. We all do. But when I'm going and I'm like on it, I'm the same way. I'm like, yes, 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 you need help with your roof. How can I figure it out? I'm always going that way. And sometimes I might find that, okay, that's not the ideal client for me. It's not the right thing. Okay, fine. But I'm always leaning in that direction. And I feel like a lot of people might listen to that viewpoint or that mindset of like, no, and set these boundaries and all this. You end up closing a lot of doors for yourself because you don't know who that person is on the other line who wants you to go look at their roof. It might just sound like it's just a little shingle house over here, just a little repair. We've gone on some repairs where it ends up turning into one of our biggest accounts. It's like some realtor and they have this property management firm and you end up moving into something, right? So saying yes, getting in front of clients and helping people just opens up doors. So the more that you're saying no, then the less you're in front of people. And the less you're in front of people, the less business and work you're going to have. So I think it's really simple, but a lot of people, I feel like, get that wrong. So I like that. You're just like leaning into it. Let's get in front of people. Let's help people with their real estate needs, like whatever.
Yeah.
Question for you. How long have you been doing this?
Since 2016.
2016, so quite a while. So what do you see like in the real estate industry? What changes do you see on the horizons, or things that people should be aware of, or things that maybe you think that other realtors need to do, I don't know, to compete, or just changes? Industries are constantly changing. What do you see in your real estate industry?
So as a realtor, I started off with a very, very kind of a slim-minded approach of like, okay, just buy and sell residential, just help buyers and sellers. and that was it. As I got more involved, the longer I was involved, I guess I could say, I've started to pick up different avenues, and I realized that you have to be very versatile and you have to be able to kind of move with the flow as things adjust in the market. And in that mindset, I have bought and flipped, and I've bought and rented, and I've helped my clients do the same.
Like you yourself personally. Gotcha.
So I've kind of dipped into that and then said, okay, yeah, this is working. This is a great thing. This is like a market for this, and it's happening thing. And then pulled my clients in and said, hey, you have your first home. I think it's time you should invest. Do you want to do a flip? Do you want to buy a multifamily?
Yeah.
And I feel like that is also what has kept me going and made me more successful, because if I had just stuck to the basic, then you just have, like, let's say one income flow, or one production line.
One stream of income, yeah.
Right. But if you actually open it up to more and more different avenues, then you get multiple income, which is great. You have all these different ways of making things happen, making deals happen. And with the market changing, I have seen it become a good flip market, a buyer's market, a seller's market, and now I would say it's more of a renter's market. And if you're going to buy an investment property, it's going to be to rent. It's not necessarily a great flipping market right now, or anything like that. But I think that answers the question.
Yeah. Okay. So diversifying, I agree that's key in a lot of businesses. Like in us, we do our residential shingles, but then we also do like metal and tile, like higher ends. Like right now in this marketplace, for example, the shingles, there's not as much of that work to do, and it's a little bit lower and more price shoppy. That's just where the economy's at. But then like tile and metal and commercial, it's really not the case. It's not doing that to that marketplace as much. So being able to be diversified, like you said, and have multiple streams of income or lines of business is helpful. It makes it so that you're less dependent on any one thing. So I dig that. I agree with that. What about the other part of that question was, what about like any changes you see in the real estate industry for like real estate agents? I don't know. Is there any technology coming in, or any something you see on the horizon that might change the way that realtors in 10 or 20 years are doing their job compared to what it is now?
I mean, I would say there are always new things coming up, especially with technology and computers and software and app developers and all sorts of things. With 2020, with COVID, we had a lot of virtual showings and virtual, you have to have your 3D model walkthrough, and you have to have your videos and all of those things. And
do you use those on your listings today?
We do. Yeah. On kind of some, depending on the property and what it needs.
There might be one that might not be worth that process. And stuff,
yeah, exactly. But yeah, so I think in the future there will be changes. I know right now there's a bit of a change going on with buyers representation, and in August there's going to be a requirement that you have to have certain paperwork signed by a buyer before you can even show them a home.
Oh wow.
So there are going to be things changing just legally, I guess.
Yeah.
And then yes, of course, technically you have always companies like Zillow and they want to buy all the properties, and they want to just do the transaction within their own corporation and everything like that. So again, yes, but as a realtor that works very one-on-one, I feel like it's much more personal.
Yep.
And it's a much more personalized service if you're just working with me as opposed to Zillow.
And it's like I agree. I don't think that's going anywhere for like a very long time, if ever, because if I am trying to buy a $1.3 million home, that's a huge investment for me. That personalized approach and touch, and just being able to talk to somebody and like, this is what I need and want. These are my specifications, how can you help me? This is like the times I can see it, and then this and that, and having another person who's really service oriented and care oriented, even if I have to pay an extra 3% or whatever the number is compared to trying to use something like that, I'm still doing it because my time is worth more than that. And also my enjoyment of the process and the experience a lot of the times is going to be worth more than that if I'm looking for a home for myself, like a single family home or something of that nature. So I agree with you that personal touch and all that, technology, maybe eventually someday, but not in, I don't think our lifetimes will that ever go away.
Yeah, exactly. And my broker, my mother-in-law, she opened this office as a boutique real estate office with the intention of keeping it boutique and keeping it personal and luxury and concierge, and really just delivering a service, because she found the need for delivering a good real estate service to someone.
Yeah.
And that it wasn't readily available. You couldn't just go to any agent and get good service.
Yeah.
And so we kind of have that as our standard.
Yeah.
We won't just accept anybody. We
Yeah.
won't just take anybody on in the office. We really want them to have that as their view and ideal when they come in. And that's kind of, I think that's important.
Yeah, I like that, and I agree with that. Looking at the experience you're creating for your clients and trying to make sure that it's the experience you want to deliver across the board is just so key.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, excellent. Let's see.
What's the most important part of buying property for you?
You talking to me?
Mm-hmm.
For me, the most important part of buying a property, that's a good question. I would say making sure that it's a good investment, right, across the board. If I'm buying it for myself to use, obviously I want it to be nice and I want to like it, but at the end of the day, I want it to be a good investment. I want to go, will somebody want to buy that property in 10 years, in 5 years? Will that property go up in value more than likely? And there's some properties that they more than likely will not, right? Like obviously if it's the lowest house in a neighborhood, or sorry, the most expensive, nicest house in a whole neighborhood, that's not as likely to go up in value, right? If it's just too nice for the comps. Like things like this is something that I look for. It's important to me. And I want to make sure, again, like I'm getting an okay deal, getting an okay price, not paying way over market for something. So those are key for me. And I guess that's probably key for you, is understanding your client in front of you and what's important to them, what they're looking for.
Yeah, because some people will look at it as an investment and other people will look at it as more of an emotional purchase.
Yeah.
What they need, want, or would like to have. Someone will buy in an area just because they have family in that neighborhood or because they have schools or something for their kids that's in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
And if the price is not really an issue for them, they'll buy it anyways just because of that one factor.
Yeah.
Oh, well, this is where my kid's going to go to school, or this is where their, horseback riding is, or this is where the beach is, and we just want to live on the beach. We don't really care. But it really, at the end of the day, it is an investment. And I think that everyone should have that in mind in terms of what is the value now and what will it be in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. When will I be likely to sell it?
Yeah.
Things like that, definitely.
Yeah. Different viewpoints for different buyers. I have a question for you. Let's see, in your career in real estate, what has been, I know for me in roofing, there's been so many of these. What's been a big, either a mistake or something that you used to do that you found, oh my God, that was not successful. This is what I changed in terms of that. And then now I'm so much more successful. So what was a big, either a mistake that you learned something from, or something that now you do that you didn't used to that just opened a lot of doors?
Mistake? I don't think no.
You never made a mistake, Tiffany.
Me? No. I think there is, to some degree, a matter of pushing that's required. And I know some realtors can be very pushy, and I know that the car salesman, salesy kind of thing is not appreciated.
Did you used to not be pushy enough?
I would say in certain situations, maybe I wasn't pushy enough where something hadn't gone through.
Yeah.
And maybe I should have just been like, look, this is the best deal that you're going to get, or, this is really, just kind of lay it all out and say, you should do this.
Well, that's one thing that I realized, and I've realized in my business too, is it actually isn't pushy if you're being honest and you're looking out for their best interests and you're laying it all out factually. So if I'm looking at your roof and you're like, oh my God, well, Joe can do it for this price here. And just to be honest and say, look, doing the roof that way is not correct. That's not standard. You actually need to do it this way. This is the material you're supposed to use. If you use that material in the valley or whatever, that's not correct, right? And just laying it out on them. Or the same thing, sometimes a client in my industry might want to do a repair, but their roof is so old and it's going to give them issues next year, and the insurance is going to cancel them next year, and there's no return on investment on it. It literally is just money down the drain. And being able to say to someone, hey, look, if you want to do that repair, you can go with another company, but for us, right, it wouldn't be good for us to do that repair for you because we know that it's going to leak and give you problems in another year. And just being able to just be honest and lay it on the table. And again, if you're doing it from their best interest at heart, then I don't think there's anything wrong with that. They still might disagree, and then that's fine. You have to accept that. It's going to happen. But I think when it becomes pushy or becomes not right is when you're not doing it because of that. You're doing it because you just want to make more money. You're saying, oh yeah, replace the whole roof. But in reality, you just want to make more money, and that repair could happen. And it's possible to make mistakes. But if you know that and you're doing that, that's when it's that used car salesman-y, pushy, and that kind of weird thing that can go on.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I know also from contractors and from experience, you don't necessarily want the cheapest or, the fastest or whatever it is. You want someone who knows the technique of how to do the job, has the experience so that they've run into the problems and
Yep.
they've run into those things and figured out how to solve all of them. And then, they can actually do the job properly.
And one thing I found too is that like some of the best clients actually really appreciate that, whether you want to call it pushy or whatever, but just it's being a professional and it's knowing your stuff and going, hey, this is it. This is how it is. I can't do it for that price. I wouldn't be able to do it right. This is all of how I'm going to do this. These are the techniques I use this. Or in your case, hey, this is the house. This is the market.
Yeah.
Like we're not going to get another house for less than that. Or, we're just not going to, if we offer them this price, that's just going to be unreasonable. That's way too low in this market. Just being able to be professional, look out for their best interest. Because at the end of the day, they don't know real estate. You do. And it's your job to kind of hold that line and say, hey, wait a minute. I know this for a fact. I've been doing this for 8 years. Like, look, I know our market right now. We shouldn't offer that, or we shouldn't list this house for that high. Because sometimes people, they'll list their houses up here and then they'll finally realize it's ridiculous and they'll drop it and drop it and drop it. But then when buyers see that it got dropped like that, it's like
waiting for it to keep dropping.
It red flags it. Yeah. A, it red flags it. And B, they think, great, they're desperate. I can get more for it. So it actually hurts you in the long run when you start off 30% above market and you come down. But some people don't understand that. And it's your job, or to be like, hey, wait a minute, you want to price this at market. That would be more like this. If we price it that high, this is what it can happen.
And there are so many ideas that people have about that. I will say one other thing in terms of being a realtor that really sets me apart, but also makes me worth, I know that I have to earn my money and makes it worth your money to hire me, basically. We do a lot more than every realtor does necessarily. We do hire professional photographers. We have professional stagers. We have exact marketing programs that we use. My husband owns a marketing company, so we have a little in with that. We do social media marketing on every platform available. We advertise internationally on the MLSs everywhere. We just have like a full set spectrum.
Do you have people who call you often off of social media stuff that you post? They're like, oh, I saw you on Facebook, and they call you?
Yeah, I would say 99% of my business is through social media.
Wow, 99%.
Repeat customers, referrals.
That is freaking wild, and I love that. And the amount of professionals, I would say, in this day and age who still aren't jumping on that surprises me. And anyone in the audience, if you don't post on social media, you don't utilize that channel, I would say, do it now. The time to start was yesterday, because it's just get out there. I don't care if you have 100 followers, if you have 20,000 followers, get out there. That will grow. But just having the right audience and then those eyeballs seeing your content consistently will get you remembered by them. And they'll be more likely to do business with you. It's simple math. And I know, like us with our roofing company, we get tons and tons of business. Also, same thing from our Facebook and our marketing on social media. But not just that, it also helps like in the sales process. Like let's say someone knows about you and they know about 2 other realtors and they're considering who to use, but they keep seeing you on Facebook and they saw some little video you did, or you saw some podcast you did, or they saw just some listing you posted that sold. I sold this listing. And the other realtors aren't on Facebook. Who has the edge in getting the phone call? Probably you do, if neither of those two do. So it's also about in your sales process of getting and retaining new clientele. So I think it's really key.
Yeah, it's the number of times that they've seen your face and your message and whatever it is.
Yeah.
Repeat it, and they will eventually reach out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, awesome. Well, Tiffany, thank you so much for being on. If anybody in the audience is interested in reaching out to you, contacting you, whether to use you as an agent or to reach out to you about something business related, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
Call me, my cell phone. It's ringing off the hook always. Except for now, it's on Do Not Disturb. 323-804-5043, and it's a California phone number. Or you can email me, Tiffanylmrep@gmail.com.
I freaking love that. And I love the fact you just gave your cell phone number. When I drove over here from another podcast I was doing with a local construction company, Home Love Construction, he asked me the same thing at the end, and I did the same thing. I gave my cell phone number, and he looked at me like shocked. But here's my viewpoint is, hey, if somebody wants to talk to me, I want to talk to them. That's my viewpoint, whether it's good or bad or indifferent. Like I want to be in communication, and the more out there you are, And anyway, I love that. I love that you just gave yourself a number out. So good. We'll put your information, your contact in the description also. Thank you so
Perfect.
much for being on, and keep rocking and rolling.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.